Hello, everyone. Welcome to the night shift presented by E2G Sports. I promise we're not late. I didn't hit the go live button, but Zach noticed it. Um, I'm joined as always by it's Blindside 73 Zach and it's KJB. KJB. The Twitter handles are right under the thing. Fellas, again, how we doing tonight, KJ?
I'm doing good. Again, I'm happy to be here with you guys. I feel like it's been a while. It's a nice shift, man. I got my cup of coffee. I'm ready to talk some ball. So let's get it.
Let's get it.
Yeah, I'm feeling all good, man. I mean, even though me and Shay's team's lost this week, we still gonna talk about ball. It's all good. It don't matter.
For real, man. Another one, bro. I'm used to it by now. Shit.
Yeah. This is how we felt for years, man. We've been used to it.
Yeah. All right. So let's start. We had a great week 13. I feel like every week's been awesome. Of course, I love football, but a lot of things happened this week. KJB, what are some immediate reactions you had to week 13?
Yeah, I mean, week 13 brought some pretty big injuries across some players. We saw Lamar suffer a sprained PCL. Expected to miss some weeks. I'm not sure the exact timeline of his absence, but, it could be anywhere from maybe 1 to 3 weeks. So, we'll be seeing Tyler Huntley under center for Baltimore. Obviously, Jimmy G initially ruled out for the year. Now they're saying he could return 7 to 8 weeks from now. So if the Niners make a run into the playoffs, there's a chance that Jimmy could return. We'll see. But, as a Niners fan, that's obviously a big blow to the team as he's been playing well. Kenneth Walker, suffered an ankle injury. Sucks if you had Kenneth Walker because he went down early in the game. And, that's another injury. We're not sure how long he's going to be out, but they just signed Wayne Gallman. So if I had to guess, he's probably going to miss this week, and we'll see from there. Bengals Chiefs game, besides the Miami San Fran game, that was my favorite game of the week. It was a rematch of the AFC Championship game, and Joe Burrow outperformed Mahomes. Cincy looked great. Burrow looked great. Chase was back and immediately led the team in receptions, catches, yards. And Cincy did a great job at limiting Mahomes and shutting down Kelsey, which more teams should be doing. So that was a big game for Cincy, kind of like a statement game. Like, in the playoffs, they're a team to, not reckon with. Deshaun Watson's first game back, he definitely had rust to him, considering it was his first game since 2020. They won. He didn't really do much. It was a big part in their defense, and Houston just being horrible.
Huge part by that defense.
Yeah. But, besides that, there wasn't really much to say about his day. Tom Brady coming back down from 16-3. He did it again. I think we all knew it. Once we saw Mark Ingram step out of bounds, I mean, you could just see it coming. It's crazy. Hit that last second touchdown to my guy, Rashad White. So that was awesome to see. And I do want to point out the Las Vegas Raiders, all right? Winners of 3 in a row. It's funny to me because we saw Derek Carr have that emotional press conference 3 weeks ago. And now they're starting to get on a little winning streak. And, don't count them out. I still think they have a chance to make the playoffs. They play your Rams this week. I know it's your team, but most likely, Raiders are favored to win that game. So there's a chance.
You know what the spread is?
I think it's 6.
Damn.
What are you talking about? They got shake and bake Baker now. The Rams about to get dub.
That's what I'm saying. I thought Vegas Raiders would be getting 6, but
the Raiders again. Wait, what? No, dude, I don't know. I have to check. I'll have to see how much Baker really changes the whole outlook of the game. Yeah, just point out the Raiders, their team to look out for.
If he starts.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Zach, what about you?
All right, so KJ did touch on it. I mean, you had one biggest reaction, obviously the biggest story other than the games themselves was Deshaun coming back. He didn't really he didn't really do anything. I think how many interceptions he threw? But I knew he threw an interception. He was sacked. He kind of looked like a guy who hadn't played in a couple of years. But luckily for the team anyway, the Browns defense showed up and pretty much carried them with all the 3 touchdowns. But which anyone who started that Browns defense this week in fantasy just
Didn't in our DraftKings the person that had that defense win?
Yeah, Josh got him 30 points.
Only if you get 30 points, you're pretty much winning.
Oh yeah. That Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm agreeing because that's what I was like. That was because I kept seeing like highlights on. I was like, wait, they got scored no. So, and then Dallas destroying the Colts. I feel like that game should have got flexed out the second that scheduled that, but everyone knew that Dallas was going to destroy Indianapolis. They should flex that out, put Cincy and Kansas City there or something.
Mm-hmm.
I turned that off. It was close in the first quarter, but I was like, the Dallas is going to come to obliterate them later. And then the only other, and then like KJ said, the injury is a huge factor. And then we're going to talk about some of it later, but like Brock Purdy coming in and still just not messing up, still helping the 49ers win. Huntley helping the Ravens win, even with Lamar going down. That Ravens squad, they may be done for the year. I'm not sure with Lamar down and how the defense usually has been playing. If they're playing any other team other than the Broncos, I feel like they're getting blown off the field. But other than that, I feel like that was my keys. I mean, the Eagles look good, but the Eagles have looked good most of the year, other than against Washington. Yeah, but that's one of my biggest things. It's like,
yeah, I kept it simple. I had 4 players that really stuck out to me for different reasons. Josh Jacobs continues to just be a surefire RB1. He's the RB1 now overall in PPR. He's in a contract year, so that money's definitely coming his way. Obviously, running backs don't get as much as they did, but he'll get more than most thought he would have. Probably back with the Raiders too. As you mentioned, they've been hot. AJ Brown, he's been great all year. He's obviously hasn't been putting up great numbers lately, but this game against the Titans, I mean, the revenge games was written all over it. But
and he's vengeful. He's that dude. He wants to get back at you.
And he almost had 3 touchdowns, wasn't it? He had one called back, and then the very next play, he scored because they
the same
holding.
Same.
Crazy, man. So this week in practice they said AJ Brown is getting 2 to 3 touchdowns. DeAndre Swift finally had a big game, first good game since week 1. Yeah. Hey, it took a couple weeks, it finally came. No, he did awesome, and he looked good. It's not even like the numbers over 100 yards, 1 touchdown. Great, but he looked elusive, and I just get confused. I get Jamal Williams is a great goal line guy, but he's older. Like he's going to be a free agent. Let Swift run, right? I mean,
yeah, I think this was the first week he was considered like fully healthy. They were saying like kind of like full practices and everything. Plus with the matchup against Jacksonville, like even our DK, I had him initially on my lineup and I changed it, but like, man, he was a smash.
Yeah, you had both those guys.
Since both are safety, one of our safeties was out, and then our corner was out. I was like, oh, Detroit's going to put crazy numbers on us.
Yeah, and Detroit's been another team that's been really good for real. After that Patriot game, it seems like they picked it back up. Mm-hmm. And then Davante Adams, 177 yards, 2 touchdowns. A-Rod is not A-Rod, but Adams is QB proof. Carr's not the worst quarterback, but honestly, I think Adams could put up numbers with any. He's like a DeAndre Hopkins. He just makes he makes it look easy, man. Like he's a dog. Yeah. What is he, number 2 wide receiver now or 3?
I know
Diggs is first. 1.
Yeah, right. Diggs is.
I think either Hill or Adams.
Yeah, exactly. Crazy, man. Them too. Mm-hmm. All right, yeah. So great stuff, guys. I agree with everything you guys said, and it was definitely a great week of football. A lot of good games.
Yep.
So we're heading into week 14. So let's discuss who's the biggest surprise this season. You could give one main player, or you could talk about a few. Zach, I'll start with you on this one.
All right, so especially after these last few weeks, I guess my biggest play would be a Christian Watson now. Like, I didn't think he was going to do anything at all, especially as the season was we were getting more and more in the meat of the season. Rodgers didn't trust him, and all of a sudden he's exploded the last, 3-4 weeks now. And so I'm really surprised. I thought, like we've talked about it before, I thought Romeo Dewis was going to take it, but I know he's hurt something, but still, Christian Watson's not showing that he's the best rookie on the team, or he's my biggest surprise. Yeah, I don't think everyone else I felt like are doing a base close to what I thought they were going to do for positively anyway.
Yeah, that's a solid pick. AJ?
Yeah, I mean, Watson, I just do want to say when I got him on waivers a couple of weeks ago and I woke up seeing I got him, I was just so happy. And I'm happy that he's looking like one of those rookie league winners down the end of the season. So hopefully he can keep that
I kept getting blocked in mine. All my leagues, they kept blocking me from getting them.
Damn. I know me and Chase main league, I had to bid pretty high for him. I bid like 1/3 of my total. We have 100 fab. I bid like 31. So
that's not bad. That worked out.
It's paying off. Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude.
I got a couple of surprises. I got Geno Smith. I mean, he's got to be considered a surprise. I mean, they wrote me off, but I ain't write him back. I mean, Geno's been awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real. No one was drafting him in 1 QB leagues. I'm sure, most likely going late in super flex drafts, but he's been a mid QB1 this year so far. And with the injury to Kenneth Walker and DJ Dallas, I think is hurt. Like, they could just be throwing more now. Who are they gonna have? Is Travis Homer even like good?
They got Jones from the Saints. Jones,
and he's garbage.
Yeah, dude. DJ Dallas was ruled like doubtful to come back.
Yeah,
and when he got cracked, he ended up coming back because they had no running backs.
Yeah,
so damn.
They've already been pass heavy. They could just continue to be more pass heavy. So, he could keep doing it. Jamal Williams. I mean, this was a running back going in double-digit rounds, and he leads the NFL with 14 rushing touchdowns. So, he's. I know I love Swift, but he's been Detroit's RB1 pretty much. So Jamal Williams, and I gotta put your boy Christian Kirk. I mean, I was excited for Christian Kirk in the offseason, and I mean, right now he's wide receiver. He's a wide receiver 1 in PPR format. So
exactly.
He's on pace for 1,000 too.
He's been hot lately, man.
Yeah,
he slowed off a little, but he's back.
Yeah. I had to give him a shout out. So those are my 3.
That's solid. I mean, I kind of touched on the sleeper I had earlier. Josh Jacobs, that was a running back that you were getting around 4 or 5.
Yeah.
His ADP was like 48. Most drafts, everyone was talking about, obviously hindsight's 50-50, but they're talking about him losing touches to Zamir White, which is far from the truth. It's more like Amir Abdullah's the one that's the backup.
Even in that Hall of Fame game too, when he started, everyone's like, "Oh my God, they're starting him in a preseason game."
Yes,
that dropped his ADP even more.
Dude, I remember that.
The first preseason game that he was starting, everyone's like, "What is going on here?"
Yeah,
that's crazy. And I mean, his stats are crazy right now. He has 1,600 total yards, 1,300 rushing, 330 receiving, 10 touchdowns, 42 receptions. Like, I don't know. Like you mentioned about the Raiders there, since Carr, did all that, the whole team's got behind him, and the rumors of him not being their quarterback next year. This team is playing hard right now, and Jacobs and Adams are 2 top 3 plays at their position. So
they had 2 last second. What was it? OT plays they won. Adams touchdown against the Broncos, and Jacobs against who? Was it the
Seattle?
Yep.
Seattle Seahawks. And he did it against the Broncos. That was on Surtain too, no?
Yeah.
One of the best. A lot of people think he's one of the at least a top 5 cornerback. He's young, but Denver's defense. Yeah, I mean, those all have been some huge surprises that we wish we probably would have known about sooner. But hey, that's why I love fantasy. So since we talked about surprises, let's go into your biggest disappointments this year, KJ.
Yeah, so I had they wrote me off. I ain't write him back as a surprise. I'm gonna have Russell Wilson as a disappointment. Everyone was excited about the potential he was gonna bring to Denver. Everyone was excited about that offense, the weapons, and now everyone's like, what are they gonna do with Russell Wilson? It's been a disaster, a shit show. And yeah, he just has not shown any upside as far as fantasy or real life NFL. So I had to throw Russell Wilson in there. Kyle Pitts, he was a young emerging tight end that was pretty much going drafted in the 3rd round in many leagues. I was seeing him getting drafted 1st round in high stake tight end premium leagues. And it was just, it just hasn't panned out.
Marcus Mariota, come on.
I know that's the thing.
Insane,
and I think we can all agree that Pitts is talented.
Hell
And,
he is.
Dynasty, he's probably a very good buy right now. But just redraft, he's been disappointing.
Hell yeah, yes.
Deontay Johnson, he was getting drafted round 4 or 5. People were like, "Oh my God, Big Ben's bringing him down." But shit, at this point, we wish Big Ben was quarterback in the Steelers for Deontay
the whole
because
system's just bad.
Yeah, he just hasn't flashed any upside. So yeah, if I had to put 3, I'll put those 3.
All right, solid list. Zach?
All right, so Russ was on my list, but I had a backup, so I figured someone's going to end up using Russ which personally I feel like we should have seen some of this because yes, Denver had weapons, but I feel like most of their weapons were potential. Like you had Juju's potential, you had KJ's potential, but they weren't like elite already receivers that was ready for. So I feel like maybe we might have jumped the gun on the weapons as it is too. But given he did have a comeback yesterday night, but Brady is one of mine disappointments. I mean, I feel like given his offensive line is decimated, but I feel like he's just not having this season as we thought he was going to do. Same thing with Aaron Rodgers. I know a lot of people are still trying to draft Aaron Rodgers early, like, oh, he's Aaron Rodgers, but he's not having as good as numbers. He's still throwing interceptions multiple games, like multiple interceptions in multiple games, which he has never been known to do. And then my other one, which he's had a couple good games, but hasn't been consistent as he has, is Lamar Jackson with Baltimore. I feel like since Bateman went down, his numbers have dropped drastically. And so I feel like it's, especially with him trying to get his money, it may be a down year. He's probably going to get franchise tag this year, and then we'll do this whole thing again next year.
All right, so I'm gonna keep it at home for me and say Allen Robinson, just based off the fact of what I expected. I know he was pretty putrid in most games this year, and there's a lot of reasons for that, but I still felt he could have dominated. He had 2 touchdowns he's dropped this year, and now him being hurt and where he was going round 4 or 5, that's where I've took him in the 4th round, and I was souped about it. But he's had 3 games over 10 points, but only one of his games over 15 points. So he was probably people's wide receiver 2. And if they went running back, tight end, or tight end, running back, and he was the first wide receiver they took, then, I mean, your team most likely, unless you're playing with a lot of roster slots, probably did really bad, to be honest. And I was big on him. I'm holding out hope for next year, but I don't know if we'll keep him. I've heard we're going to trade him for Brandon Cooks. So,
we'll see.
Yeah,
man, exactly. those round 4, round 5 receivers really sucked.
Dude, no kidding. You said Deontay Johnson,
Gabe Davis. There was someone else I was thinking. Cortland Sutton was another that was going there.
Oh my god, dude! What quarter did he get injured this week, Sutton? Because he got a goose
I'm not
egg.
sure about quarter, but that's another that's up in the air if he's going to play. It sounds.
Yeah, dude. Like you got a goose egg, and I played you. And
Oh,
I'm
Bateman.
like, yeah,
Bateman got hurt. That was another.
Yeah.
Oh
Babe,
yeah,
I was
Bateman.
like, which, like I said, I mean, that's killed Baltimore's offense.
Mm-hmm.
So they give us something, but
yeah. All right, so let's go into the fantasy MVP so far. I think I started with KJ last one. So Zach, start it off.
all right. So I have two. I mean, so are we talking like MVP in general, or we're doing just non-quarterback?
Just fantasy
Okay.
at this
That's what I
point.
meant, like fantasy, like quarterbacks. Because me personally, I have a hotter take. Mine's JJ, Justin Jefferson. I mean, he's getting up. He's doing score. Like he's even scoring on like Sauce Gardner, who's who's already shown one of the best corners in our league. I mean, I know everyone's gonna go. Most people are gonna go quarterback, which quarterback's gonna get the points, which I get. But I feel like JJ's doing it consistently. I mean, a lot of the other quarterbacks I feel like have had down weeks, and I feel like JJ's kind of been pretty consistent throughout.
AJ?
Yeah, so I'm not going to lie. I didn't even know if this was going to be on the show sheet or not, but I have two answers I want to throw out. One, Josh Jacobs, who you talked about, RB1 on the season, been a league winner if you had him.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to throw out Josh Jacobs and also Travis Kelce. I know he had a rough game this week, but I mean, if we know if you've had Kelce throughout the years, that's a huge advantage. And just this year, he's
especially
just
with
been
every
a
other
huge
tight end being bad.
Yeah, and like this year, he's just been a huge glitch. Like if you had him, then there's a good chance that your team's succeeding. So I gotta shout out Travis Kelce as well.
All right, dope. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Kelce finally had a bad game. People are gonna cry about it. What was that? His first game under 10 points,
And
he's
like,
a tight end.
What do you
all
have,
season, I
450
think.
or something?
Yeah, because no one. I mean, because since Bateman and Mark Andrews isn't doing anything anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So my MVP, I mean, I gave it to Mahomes. I get it, he's a quarterback, but he has the most points. He's on a team that loves to throw, even when they're at the 1 yard line and 2 yard line. I mean, Isaiah Pacheco has been definitely great for them at running back, but
He's taking.
they're still gonna chuck that rock. Tyreek Hill was supposed to be, knock him down a few notches. Even for me, I even had Burrow ahead of him. I had obviously Allen, which I do feel Allen. This is for right now, but we still have next week and then the playoffs. So we have like 4 weeks of fantasy left. So Josh Allen looked pretty healthy against the Patriots. Finally, that elbow looks like he's over that. So with his rushing upside, that's the advantage he has. And that's more of what's more impressive about Mahomes is he only has one game over 50 yards rushing, only 2 rushing touchdowns. Most of the guys at the top of the list, like Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, even Danny Dimes, when he's putting up numbers, they get a lot of their numbers from rushing yards, Justin Fields. So I think it's impressive to be the top guy with just throwing pretty much.
Yeah, man. If you got to face Josh Allen week 1 in the playoffs, good luck. He gets Miami, and he usually kills Miami. So, and that's probably going to be a high total game.
Yeah, I'd say it's going to be a revenge game too.
Yeah, I just see that being a shootout. So he could easily.
Unless it snows.
Is it in Buffalo?
Yeah, if it snows in Buffalo, then Josh Allen will be fine.
It's in Buffalo. Because remember the first game, that was the whole the heat, the humidity on the sideline.
Oh yeah, people were dropping left and right.
Oh, it was the Bills. Yeah, it was the Bills. Yeah, their whole D line was gassed.
Yeah, and then Diggs went down for a second. I remember that.
Man, every stadium should be a dome.
Nah. They gotta learn to take the heat.
I like it in the cold. I like the way it's set up. And the Bills, that's a good home field for them.
I mean, the Bills outdoors. It was and New England back in the day was their thing, and even even Green Bay, even it's snow game.
Lambeau, exactly.
Yeah, it's definitely an advantage to the home team.
Yeah, just like in the early like Miami, or it's advantage to them because a lot of players aren't ready for the humidity.
Yeah, and the sideline they have it exposed to the to where the sun comes out.
I mean, they have the fans, but the fans don't do that much.
Yeah, exactly. So I know you guys both talked about this throughout the show today. Purdy and Huntley, both quarterbacks, both are starting this week. Purdy for Jimmy Garoppolo, who's out 7 to 8 weeks now. Well, it's not confirmed, but that's the latest rumor. And then Lamar is 1 to 3 weeks. So Huntley's in there. Could be 1 start, could be 3. If you had to pick one to start this week, though, with let's make it juicy. And you have your fantasy, your playoffs are on the line. You need to win. Who are you starting this week? KJ?
Yeah, so both are in low total games. Both actually have totals of 37. Baltimore and Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay, San Fran. So Vegas ain't really thinking that highly of both matchups. Tampa offense hasn't really shown much upside. Pittsburgh's offense hasn't shown that much upside. So we could see more of a defensive battle between both teams. But if I had to choose, I'd probably roll with Huntley, because of the rushing upside he brings to the table. Last week he ran for 41 yards, had a touchdown, rushing touchdown. And last year he's shown he could have monster games. Purdy has the weapons, but I think Huntley's rushing upside gives him a safer floor and a higher ceiling as well. So if I had to choose, I would roll with Huntley.
Respect. Zach?
Shay pretty much, KJ pretty much said everything I was about to say. But
yeah, for real.
Because I was like, we've seen Huntley do it. So I agree that Brock Purdy does have the better weapons, but Huntley's done it before. We've seen him have a big number or a big fancy number. Yes, Baltimore's offense hasn't looked good, but maybe Huntley's going to be a new option or something. But yeah, because in my league, I'm probably going to end up starting him. It's between him or Mariota. So, but I don't. Because Brock Purdy, he may surprise us, but I haven't seen as much. I feel like as the defense, he's just going to be told just hand the ball to McCaffrey and just run it and just don't mess up.
Mm-hmm. And we saw Huntley pepper Mark Andrews last year. Like, this could be huge for Andrews,
Mm-hmm.
A change could be huge.
Yeah, and I like Zach mentioned, KJ, you nailed it. Sure, people will look at Pittsburgh's defense on like ESPN and see, 26, it's in the green versus Pittsburgh. But remember, that was with J.J. Watt out. J.J. Watt's back, so T.J. Watt, sorry. Yeah. T.J. Watt's back, so that pressure is getting there. So I definitely think the matchup favors him. The weapons favors Purdy. Yeah. But Tampa Bay's got a damn good defense too. That could be like a 13-16 game. And Tampa Bay that was crazy last night, man.
They held.
That was magic.
They held. It was after. I will say though that if Mark Ingram does step out and if Taysom Hill catches that ball, we're talking a different story. Because I hit him in his hands, he just dropped it.
So it's funny. People are saying that it's rigged. What do you guys think? Ingram, why didn't Ingram just reach out for the first?
It's not rigged.
I know he was hurt, but
I don't think if it's rigged, I'm not saying it won't. If it was rigged, it wouldn't be rigged that way. It'd be a rest
a bonehead play.
Anything, but no. I think he just forgot what time it was. Just like
adrenaline's kicking. He's probably nervous. You never know, dude. They have feelings. They're humans, man. They make mistakes. We play video games and do something. And we're like, what the? Why they do it?
I know.
That's a video game. Imagine actually being out there. He probably thought he. And then who was that? Levante David on his ass.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
So he ain't trying to get cracked by him. He was like, I'll just go out. We're up 16-13, 16-3.
Taysom got cracked too. That was a hell of a hit.
Yeah.
Remember Brady a few years ago thought he had one more down. He spiked it on 4th down. I was like, everyone has.
Oh yeah, he did the.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't think it's rigged. I think this people
soccer,
I don't either. I just saw it on Twitter.
No, 100% soccer is.
They've been caught.
Basketball has moments that's rigged too.
No one's ever caught the NFL, so
yeah, exactly.
Plus, you don't want to think it is either because that ruins it. I don't like fake stuff. So everyone, thank you for tuning in. E2G Sports presents the night shift. Make sure to hit that like button. It really helps out with the algorithm, and subscribe if you haven't already. So let's get back into it. Garrett Wilson, New York Jets wide receiver. Zach, do you think he's a top 12 wide receiver one rest of the season?
Top 12? I think he can be, because with Zach Wilson out, Mike White's more of a gunslinger. And so I feel like he's going to throw it more. So I think Garrett Wilson can become the rest of the season with that. If it was Zach Wilson, I would say no, 100%. But with the Jets feeling like, watching them, I feel like they play harder for Mike White than they did for Zach Wilson. And so I feel like the defense is going to be better, so they're going to have higher. So you may not have the huge numbers, but I think at least top 12, I think he can easily hit.
Hey, JB?
Yeah, I got to agree with Zach. He definitely can be. And if you have him ranked as a top 12 wide receiver, then I don't blame you. We see every year, we see rookie wide receivers down the stretch of the season end up being league winners. Last year, we saw with Amon-Ra. This year, I think we're seeing it with Garrett Wilson and Christian Watson. Ever since Mike White has taken over, Garrett Wilson's first in receiving yards with 257, first in yards after the catch with 119, second in receptions gaining 15-plus yards with 6. He's a big play waiting to happen, and Mike White is doing a hell of a job getting him the ball. They clearly have a connection. Wilson was quoted as saying he'd go to war for him, and he's got something special about him. They clearly are like, they're just happy Zach Wilson isn't the quarterback and Mike White's actually doing something with the offense. And if you look at the Jets' rest of the schedule, they have the Bills this week. Might be a tough matchup, but hey, Mike White's probably going to have to sling it again. They get the Lions next week. I already saw that total's over 50 points, so Vegas think it's going to be a shootout.
Yeah.
Jaguars and Seahawks. I mean, all potential shootout games are games that Mike White will have to throw. So I think it's wheels up for Garrett Wilson.
Yes, sir. I was looking at his numbers with Mike White. So the last 2 weeks, 23 targets, including 15 targets last week. So he's getting the volume, dude. And if you look at, Seattle in the championship game, if you make it with Garrett Wilson, that's his toughest game. But he has Buffalo, Detroit, Jacksonville. And those are games, too, where the Bills don't have a bad defense, but their secondary is nothing to worry about. And with Von Miller not out there, they're not getting pressure. Yeah, they beat the Patriots, but, the Patriots aren't good. The Lions will score. They're going to put up points.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And Jacksonville as well. They're a competitive team. They're going to put up points, but both teams' defenses are going to make it.
Yep.
I love Detroit, Jacksonville, and playing those teams and having players on those teams. It's a good time. Yeah, you get a lot of points. And then Mike White, if you got to hope he stays out there, but I was a little nervous last week when he threw that first interception. It was a kind of tight window and it got deflected. And then the second one, same thing, but he picked it up at the end. He improved. He's young.
If they were throwing to Elijah Moore now, Braxton. Sorry, go ahead, Zach.
I was just saying they can't. Couldn't they really go back to Zach Wilson if they bench Mike White? You can maybe do Fluco, but
if he sucks, yeah, they would.
They're making him inactive during games.
That's what I'm saying. So it would be Flacco.
Yeah, for to come in, right? But I would assume, with the number 2 pick on the roster still, that they would play him especially if it's between him and Flock. I don't know. If they don't, then that means he's completely done.
If Mike White struggles, I was going to say, if Mike White struggles, and I could see it, but they almost just beat Minnesota, what's Minnesota? 10-2?
Yeah, 10-2.
Yeah, Dallas.
If they weren't throwing to Braxton Berrios in the end zone and Elijah Moore instead, they could have won that game. They had 2 opportunities towards the end to win that game. So, I don't know. I think Mike White's looking good.
And he even had a bomb to Elijah where Elijah couldn't get his second foot in. And it's like, come on. That should have been so easy.
Just like I just said, Zach Wilson's inactive. So if it'd be because say if they bench Mike White, it'd be Flacco. Then you have a whole issue who you start, Flacco, Mike White, or Zach Wilson the following week.
Yeah, they could get. They need Mike White to just play good, so they don't get into that.
Mm-hmm.
They have a playoff. They have playoffs on the line right now. So
Yeah,
and they got tough schedules. So
Has anyone even been mathematically eliminated for the playoffs yet, other than Houston?
Houston, the Rams have like a 0.5% chance. Like you guys, your division blows, so you got a chance.
Yeah, that's our.
You got to beat the Titans. You got to beat the Titans this week for sure.
Yeah,
and then you're only 2 games back. So
yeah.
I mean, but Houston only has 1 win. They're out of it.
Yeah,
I think Minnesota is the first team to clinch playoff.
What about
spot.
the Bears? 3-10.
Yeah, the Bears might be out because Minnesota just clinched division. But
yeah, because I know Green Bay's probably they was talking about Green Bay's probably going to shut it down.
Because mathematically they're not, because they could just, if they win out and then like if Washington, Seattle loses out, something sketchy like that, or the Giants too.
Yeah, the Chicago's been eliminated.
Oh, it shows them as eliminated, and that's it.
Yeah.
But come on, dude. There's seems like
I'm saying like everybody else.
Dude, if the Saints won yesterday, they would have been a half game out, right? Because they have the bye week. So
yeah, that was a big game for them.
So it looks like we all love Garrett Wilson here. So if you have him, you have a potential league winner on your roster. Cam Akers, 60 yards, 2 touchdowns. I don't know who watched the game, Kyle. I know you watched your Niners during that time, but watching film sometimes is better than just looking at numbers. Cam Akers was actually doing things he hasn't done. He was finding the holes. He was bouncing outside, not just running forward and falling. So you guys think Cam Akers is back? Zach?
I mean, I kind of think he almost has to be, because maybe not like back as like a high end, but kind of back. But I mean, with Henderson gone, he's gonna have to get majority of the carries now. And since you also have a chance, but I mean, if they're trying to see the young guys see what they have, you're probably gonna run the ball all more than, and with all receiver issues with Robinson and Cooper Kupp both being gone, it's gonna be a running game. So I feel like he should be back, but maybe not like an elite back, if that makes sense.
Oh, it makes sense. KJB?
Yeah, I mean, and with you being a Rams fan, you can speak up if you think it's wrong, but I put down maybe. He definitely had, just looking at stats, he definitely had control of the backfield. 17 carries compared to Kyren with just 3. Added 2 touchdowns to the stat sheet. But, if he continues to see the volume, I get it. But, he still only averaged 3.5 yards per carry. Only saw 1 target for 0 yards. So without those 2 TDs, you're still only looking at 7 PPR points. With Baker, the offense is probably going to be more competent than, with Wolford or Bryce Perkins. But last week, we saw Kyren with 11 carries and Cam with 8. So, I don't know if this is just a turn of the guard where Cam's going to see most of the volume. I don't know. I might want to see a wait and see approach, but, if you need somebody, you want to bank on that volume, I get it. But, I still think the Rams offense is still kind of tough to trust right now, but, it's a turn in the right direction. So, I get it. It's just tough for me to kind of trust right now.
Yeah, so I know you mentioned the touches. He also played a season high 72% of the snaps this week, so that was good to see. He was out there. I know Kieran Williams, I thought he could have played a little more, but the way Akers is running, they were not taking him off the field. He has a cupcake matchup Thursday night against the Las Vegas Raiders. And with all the bye weeks this week, I think, especially if I had like a Taylor, Kamara, and Akers is on my bench, I'm throwing him in there. You're definitely right on the catches. He's only has 7 targets all year too, so he's definitely not getting the catches. With Baker, we'll see if that changes. Hopefully, he could be his little Kareem Hunt, but he's not really a good pass catcher. I think he's definitely looking good and probably earned himself a roster spot next year, at least on the Rams. So speaking of bye weeks, this week we have 6 bye weeks, and it's a must-win week for a lot of teams. So I want to see how you guys feel about this. KJB, how do you feel about all
Yeah,
these
I think
bye
it's
weeks?
bullshit. I mean, with how big fantasy football is for the NFL, why would they even do this? I mean, just for
Mhm,
teams in general, why would you want to wait until week 14 to have a bye? I just
mhm,
it doesn't make sense to me. And if you look at the schedule, week 8 only had 2 teams with a bye. Last week had 2 teams on a bye. And only week 9 had six teams on a bye compared to this week coming up.
mhm.
So the NFL could have easily have scheduled it so there would have been no buys this week. Um,
Exactly.
and like I said, with how big fantasy sports is for the NFL and gambling, I just think they completely screwed it up. Yeah, I just think it's bullshit because a lot of teams who are fighting for a playoff spot have arguably some of their best players missing for the week. So it's
Mm-hmm.
devastating.
Yeah. The little man.
Yeah.
So all right. So Zach, how you feeling
So
about
yeah, I
these
agree.
bye
They
weeks?
should. They shouldn't have. I feel like we shouldn't have any buys after week 13. I think
Yeah.
they could fight
100%.
through. I mean, they're already trying to get games in like in Germany and London and all this stuff. So it's like so it's gonna mess up. So most of those games are all early anyway. So put their buys then. I luckily
Right.
got lucky at most of my buy. There are my 2 leagues. The only people on bye week are my defensive players. So it's like okay, that's not gonna hurt me as bad as other people's. It's like I know a lot of people's. It's all their quarterbacks, their running backs and stuff. But yeah, there's no way. There's no reason to have a bye week this early or this late in the season. I was like,
Right.
you got playoffs right around the corner, and it's like this is going to make or break a lot of people's seasons.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the teams. I know KJ. You mentioned the bye week things, and then it was week 12. There was 0 bye weeks. Like
No, see
Wow.
right
just
there,
two
you could
weeks ago,
split.
there was 0. Yeah.
Oh, for Thanksgiving.
Right.
Thanksgiving week.
Right. But still, it's like, damn, the
Yeah.
teams that play. It's and then
Yeah.
the players you're looking at out: Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman,
Mhm.
Aaron Rodgers, and 2 QB for sure. Justin Fields, Alvin Kamara, Chris
Mhm.
Olave, Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson, Terry McLaurin. Like those
Yeah,
are
it's
guys
devastating.
that you need.
Mm-hmm.
Scary Terry's been putting up numbers. Kamara's been
Mhm.
pretty bad, but I mean, you start him. Justin Fields has been good. He obviously didn't
Yeah.
have a great week. Didn't hit 20 points this week, but those interceptions played a big part in that. Brian Robinson almost had 100 yards last week, so people probably like, yes, you know.
Mhm.
And then they released it on a bye. Oh,
Yeah, so now it's like you got to hope. It's just horrible. I know one of
Mhm.
our first episodes we talked about it too. Like we seen this all, us fantasy players and all you guys. We look, you see, all right, week 14, 6 bye weeks. Jesus Christ, the highest total of teams tied. It's been 2 weeks now with 6 bye weeks, and it's like, come on, man.
Mhm.
Like how you said, you could have just spread it out and then been none
Yeah.
this
I
week.
mean, hopefully the NFL realizes they screwed up and changes it for next year.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
I
I
know
mean,
one league.
I feel like a lot of players are going to be like, "I'll like my bye week late." That way, they can have a rest before the playoff run.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And those teams, it's like Packers, Falcons.
See, I don't know if players would rather have it middle of the season or towards the end.
I heard they like between week 7 and 10.
Yeah.
I've heard that
I
like
feel
a
like it'd
lot
break it up better.
mid-season, right at the middle,
Mhm.
especially when it was week 8 when it was a 16 game slate. 'Cause right now it's like, I mean, if you're in a league where they started the playoffs this week, I'm sorry, you got to leave that league.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Yeah. But all right, so I think that wraps up our show tonight. Another banger, another one in the books.
Hell yeah.
Everyone, thank you all for tuning in. All of our Twitter handles are in our below our camera. Yep. So make sure to follow, show support. The community needs support.
Mhm.
Especially the young upcoming brands. So make sure to subscribe to E2G Sports. We're gonna blow up, baby. Anything else, guys?
No doubt.
Nah, good luck to everyone who's fighting for a playoff spot this week.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we have some good games, and yeah, good luck.
All right. Later, guys. Thank you.